My name is Harbans Singh and today is August the 22nd, 2014. I was 24 years old in 1984. I was working at a construction site in 1984. I was working in Kuala Lumpur, which is the capital city of Malaysia. We heard the news almost immediately after. I had been following the chain of events for the last couple of months, based on the troubles that were happening in Punjab. So we heard the news both on TV, over radio, through the BBC News Service, and also in the newspapers. I heard that the Indian Army had attacked Harbans Singh, and there was a significant loss of life, and a curfew had been imposed all over Punjab. There were multiple emotions that I experienced when I heard the news first. So there was disbelief, there was shock, which then turned into anger, and then a sense of frustration because you're so far away from where this is happening, and there was limited news that was getting out. So there was a lot of speculation. So there was a whole series of emotions that I went through. We heard this almost immediately, and again through the news that was published in the Malaysian newspapers. We heard that the Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had been killed by her Sikh bodyguards. We heard that there was violence in Delhi, and then news started trickling out that there was a massacre of Sikhs, and countless numbers of Sikhs had been killed in New Delhi. The reaction was very much similar to the reaction or the experience that we went through in June. So again, shock, anger, frustration, disbelief, and a sense of, sense of disbelief. Most of my extended family lives in India, majority of them in Punjab, and then some of them in Uttar Pradesh. So I used to be in touch with them, mostly by mail and occasionally by telephone. So we used to get some information from them, which was really their own experience based on whatever was happening in Punjab. So they described the hardship they were going through, the curfews, the search that they were exposed to sometimes, and we also heard incidents about extended family members who had been tortured or caught by the police and tortured. So they were not directly family members, but they were extended family members. But I would like to narrate an experience that I went through in 1990, which is a number of years after this whole episode. So I had traveled to India for the first time in almost 25 years. So we were in UP visiting family members. And on the way back from one of the villages, as we were driving back to where my uncle was living, we had car trouble. So it was almost dusk turning into, it was getting dark. So the car broke down on the way to home. We ended up having to push the car for a while. So we would push the car for maybe a mile and then sit there and rest. So as it started growing darker, we would notice that the trucks that were passing by, they would slow down and then they would speed up again. So almost half an hour later, we actually were surrounded by 3 or 4 jeep loads of army and police officers with their, they actually had their machine guns pointed at us. I'm assuming that somebody may have reported to them that there was a group of suspects by the roadside. So they surrounded us and they started asking us questions. So fortunately, one of my cousins had a medical practice in the same area, and one of the police officers happened to recognize him. So then they, once they were confident that we were not terrorists, they told us to move away, and then they let us go. In my opinion, I think it's a failure of many different groups or individuals. There was the failure on the part of the Sikh leadership. There was the failure on the part of the Indian, political leaders. There was the failure on the part of the Sikhs and even the Hindus themselves. We let the situation. I guess we, along with everybody else, have to take the responsibility for what happened. Although we were the victims for the most part, but I think we had we perhaps did contribute towards what happened to us in the end. So maybe we didn't have strong enough leaders. Maybe we didn't have a very clear vision or goal in mind, and maybe we didn't take the steps that we should have taken, or our leadership should have taken well in advance to prevent the issue from escalating to the level it did. It reinforced the values of Sikhism. It made me realize again that we were unique. We had to stand for our beliefs, and not to be fearful of being targeted just because we have different set of beliefs and we look different. Over time, I think it taught me that the revenge, which was one of the emotions that I went through when this incident first happened, revenge is not the right way to seek resolution. So you have to find a way to reach out to others, you have to find a way to get along with others, and you have to find a way to fight for your rights without resorting to violence.